I just can't always clock the pace, been falling off for days. Can't wait to take my chances. And tornado from Kansas to coast seems too close to oceans. They hope to roll it and shake the land up. The owners will put their hands up and dip with benefits. Big fish never get caught, won't flinch. I caught hooks in spots where I swim. Been landlocked. These landlords want what I cannot give. To get to space I must take up. Can't evaporate and won't stay stuck. This backward state won't shape up. Don't know my place, I gotta make it up. It's time to go. Been too long, too slow. Gotta get with the rhythm I need. New sights, new souls. New sides to show. Thinking of all of these reasons to leave. I need some new life. Let go, move light. New regions, new seasons. Same numbers, same phone. Won't lose my luggage. You won't lose my love. If you need some, come meet up and see my new home. Careful on the ladder if you go get it. Corporate double speak, no menace. Hate to see a language so tormented. Tongues of the enemy, split twist and flip scripts endlessly. I don't get it. Hard to see the pattern when you're so in it. Said I wouldn't settle in, I'm so minute. Might bend low, won't near the two fools in the trench coat. Mr. CEO, I did new math, now I owe you. Say you owe me, you want my energy for free. Yeah. Give me percentages and fees. Hey, what's a man made for? I don't know, but I got what you can't pay for. And I don't wanna lie, but God, I can't stay bored looking at these walls full of knockoffs, decor. It's time to go. Been too long, too slow. Gotta get with the rhythm I need. New sights, new souls. New sides to show. Thinking of all of these reasons to leave. I need some new life. Let go, move light. New regions, new seasons. Same numbers, same phone. Won't lose my luggage. You won't lose my love. If
Well, I promise you, it'll be an inspirational experience over the next few days. One that will take the work you do to the next level.
We're living at a true inflection point, a moment where creativity and marketing are being reshaped by AI. And that's why we believe at Adobe that creative control is more important than ever before.
Through your vision, you could shape our technology in service of your community.
Bring it on back.
Please welcome Chief Marketing Officer, Adobe Enterprise, Rachel Thornton.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone loved that video of the recap of the first day of Summit, all of that energy and excitement. It's been amazing so far. I want to welcome everyone to day 2. We have some exciting announcements yesterday illustrating how customer experience orchestration is being transformed. And today, we are going to go deeper, showcasing and demoing what makes customer experience orchestration real in the era of agentic AI. As Anil talked about yesterday when he unveiled Adobe CX Enterprise, customer experience orchestration is critical to building and delivering experiences that engage and delight customers, turning early customers into fans of your product and loyal customers into advocates for your brand. The best customer experience orchestration brings together customer data, creative content, and tailored journeys. Adobe CX Enterprise is the agentic system purpose-built to fully address your CX orchestration needs across the entire customer lifecycle: prospect, acquire, convert, engage, and loyalty. Anil also introduced Adobe CX Coworker, which simplifies the process of bringing together data and content across fragmented systems to deliver personalized experiences at scale, with AI agents that orchestrate workflows based on defined goals. And David showcased how AI technologies are shaping the future of creativity with Adobe Brand Intelligence. So underpinning all of the Adobe CX Enterprise are 3 vectors of innovation: brand visibility, customer engagement, and content supply chain. Today, we're going to go deeper into each of these areas. We're going to hear from Amit Ahuja, our SVP of Product, who will dive into the latest on LLM optimization and brand discovery, showcasing what Adobe is doing to ensure our customers are able to successfully navigate the shift to agentic optimization and what it means for your brand. We're also going to hear from Anjul Bambari, our SVP of Engineering, who's going to share the latest on how platform infrastructure is evolving in the age of AI, and how CX Coworker can support every member of your marketing team to help build and orchestrate campaigns, customer journeys, and amazing customer experiences. And lastly, Varun Parmar, our SVP of Gen Studio and Firefly Enterprise, will share more on Adobe Brand Intelligence, as well as the latest on Adobe Gen Studio innovations and Adobe Firefly Foundry. And to showcase how CMOs and CTOs are working together at the intersection of marketing and AI, I'll talk with Vlad Rock, CTO, and Emily Silver, CMO, from Dick's Sporting Goods on how they're transforming their brand via innovative digital and in-store experiences. Dick's has an amazing story about building great experiences for the athlete. They're actually also out in our community pavilion, so hopefully you've had a chance to check that out. That's very cool. But that should be a really great conversation. But before we get started, I want to congratulate all of our 2026 Experience Maker Award winners. We had an amazing cohort this year, showcasing creativity and innovation in marketing. So let's give a Summit round of applause to our winners. The innovation we're sharing and showcasing at Summit, on main stage, in our strategy sessions, and in the community pavilion is designed from the ground up to make brands thrive and stand out in the age of AI. And if there's one company that knows something about the importance of brand, it's Procter & Gamble. P&G brands are trusted by millions of customers worldwide. We all rely on them. We love them. We know they will work. And so now, please welcome Shantanu and Procter & Gamble CEO Shailesh Jejurikar to the stage.
Good morning. I hope you had a great day one, and I think we have a ton of great stuff happening in day two. And thanks, Rachel, for that introduction. At the end of the day, this is a marketing and a customer experience summit. And as we think about managing customer experience at unprecedented scale, Procter & Gamble stands apart. 65 brands, products sold in 180 countries, serving more than 5 billion customers. And every category, every consumer segment is an almost unimaginable level of complexity. And so leading a company like that demands someone who has seen it from every angle. And Shailesh Jejurikar has spent over 30 years doing exactly that, building iconic brands, running major global divisions all across the globe, and navigating the global complexity of what it means to be the world's largest consumer goods company. And now, as Procter & Gamble's CEO, he's driving the transformation that will define its next chapter. So please join me in welcoming Shailesh Jejurikar.
Thank you, Shantanu.
The one thing maybe I'll start off is we have something else in common, Shailesh.
Yes.
And we both grew up in the same city in India. We actually went to the same high school. We were a few years apart, but you were head boy of that school, and we were in the same house. So you were destined for leadership right from the very beginning. But what I wanted to talk to you about was talk to us a little bit about your leadership journey. You've been there, you started in Mumbai, you've been in many global places. Just give us a little bit of Shailesh.
I'll do that. Before that, Shantanu, thank you for having me here, and congratulations to you on an amazing 18 years leading this great company. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And since he pulled out the old high school days, I've got to kind of make sure that we finish that. So Shantanu was inspirational even then. He was 4 years senior to me, not trying to age myself or him, but he was 4 years senior to me, and he was really the person everyone looked up to. So it's no surprise that you've gone on to be so successful. Well, now getting to the question on the journey, it's been a fantastic 37 years. But probably the more defining ones from a leadership standpoint, Shantanu, I would say, is those few experiences that shape us. And we all go through those. And I'll probably take a couple of them to give you a flavor of it. The first one, when I did my first expatriate assignment in Kenya, actually, of all places, I was moved to Nairobi, and I was in Kenya. And two big things that I got out of that experience, there were many things, but if I have to share two big ones would be, I really, for the first time, truly connected with the consumer, with a passion. Maybe because I was outside my home country, I listened better. But I truly connected to the consumer, maybe because I was working on categories like always, the femcare category, where it made a difference. The product we sold made a difference on whether they attended school for that week or not. And I think then that draws you in, and so that was one. And the second thing that it taught me was, because it was a small operation, we didn't have a lot of internal transactions, which unleashed for more external focus. And I think it taught me the power of shifting the gravitational force externally. So that was another big one. Then the next big shaping experience for me was my first general manager assignment. I was based in Singapore leading our fabric and home care business. That taught me a fundamental belief in growth. In consumer products, sometimes you wonder what is really good growth. In that assignment, I had parts of my business which grow 5 times, 7 times, so 5x, 7x in 3-4 years. When you see that growth, it changes your mindset of what it is. So I took that whole passionate belief in growth, and then when I was running fabric and home care, which is about a third of the company later in my career, I was able to scale that into what I call the growth mindset, which is how do you move an entire organization to think of growth differently and what is possible. And during that time, in 6-7 years, pretty large business, grew almost 3x its historical average. So those were probably some of the big ones through my journey.
Well, one thing that in preparing for this session, I learned a lot about you, which was your sort of consumer centricity. And as I understand it, at least once a week, you're walking around. You actually go visit a lot of consumers in their home to really get a sense of how they use the products. And last night, Shailesh was telling me that he actually has board meetings where the entire board also has to experience both customers and consumers who use your products and some who perhaps use competitive products. So, consumer centricity is so critical. Tell us a little bit more about that passion.
In our business, at the end of it, what are we trying to do? We're trying to meet some needs. Some of them are articulated, some not articulated. For me, there are two things that it's probably the best part of my job when I go to a consumer home. I did that on my first day on the job. That was more to send a message that this matters. We need to put the consumer first. So the first item on my agenda on the first day that I took on this role was to go to a consumer home. But really, the power of listening to what they say and what they don't say, being in their surroundings. So you really are able to see what they're doing in their own context. And that unlocks a lot of interesting things. When one of my favorite P&G brands, Dawn Power Wash, it's a spray. I hope you all use it. But it was fascinating. We were observing how people were washing. For years and years, we had designed products for them to wash, fill up the sink and wash the dishes. When we spent not just seeing them wash dishes, we spent the full day to see how the day went, how food was consumed. So there was a bit about, okay, how are you making the food? And how they were cleaning. So part of their life versus that part. We realized most people were actually cleaning on the go, which means you do a couple of dishes here, a couple of dishes there, and that's really how it was. Then we said, okay, if this is the new habit, and we started with a clean sheet of paper, how would that product look like? That's what gave birth to Dawn Power Wash. So you get some amazing insights that helps you really solve problems which they have sometimes never even articulated.
No, that completely makes sense. And I remember when I called you when you just took on this role, and I said, what's top of mind? Actually, 3 of the things that you talked about have to do with marketing and customer segmentation. I'd love for you to share, as you sort of started this role, the things that were top of mind for you.
Listen, the biggest one for our point in time, in fact, I think it's an amazing opportunity, Shantanu, because I tell many of the people in P&G, if you had to choose a time to be a marketer, what an amazing time. Probably 100 years back, P&G created a new way of marketing, which came to be known as the soap opera. Right? So I tell people, that was 1932, 33. Okay. And that kind of, we can say, oh, well, so much has changed since then, but we all kind of built off that model in many different ways. Mass reach, mass advertising, leveraging some of what TV enabled or radio enabled. And then when you look and fast forward today, today's generation has the chance to create the soap opera of the future. And it won't look anything like a soap opera, but we have, or this generation has, the opportunity to redefine what marketing will look like. So, but the drivers of it, secular trend of media fragmentation, we've talked about that. That's a huge thing. I mean, getting consumer attention with the extent of media fragmentation, huge challenge. The retail landscape changing, big challenge. So when you put some of this changing demographics, delayed household formation, when you put all of this together, fundamentally, brand building and marketing is completely being reinvented. I tell many people today inside that I pride myself on a career of brand building, but if you ask me to build a brand today, I can give you principles. I'm not sure I know how to do it.
Well, what's also amazing for you, as we touched on, was the complexity. And with 65 brands, as you think about innovation, that was the other thing you touched on with me, which is how do you innovate and how do you let people know about the innovation that you're actually delivering? So maybe just touch a little on innovation on the core product across all these brands.
Yeah. So for innovation has been the lifeblood of P&G through our career, starting with through our history of 188 years. In creating whether it was the first really meaningful detergent for washing machines, which was Tide, whether it was the diaper. So, we've really kind of gone and created that. So we spend a lot of money, probably the most in our sector by a large margin. We spend over $2 billion on R&D. May not be as much as some in the tech sector, but $2 billion in our sector is a lot of money to spend. And even on percentage terms, it's a pretty high one. We kind of have now learned more and more to solve some of the consumer problems I was talking about. We showed the Zevo stuff there. We showed Tide Evo, the new Tide we just launched. When we think of it, what we are doing more and more of is combining new areas of technical competence. So typically, we were very good at formulaic chemistry, so formulating products. We were very good at substrate. Our papers are kind of paper brands, Charmin, Bounty, that's paper, baby care, diapers. So we had very good substrate knowledge. We've built devices over the years because of the Gillette and Braun acquisition, the power toothbrushes. So we have now device competence, and we have built a lot of biology competence, so biosciences and some of that. Our ability to now start pulling some of those together to solve problems is really phenomenal. So the Tide Evo you saw that we just launched, that's actually woven chemistry. So it's chemicals being woven into fiber, which makes us put things together that were typically incompatible. Zevo is a combination of biology because it's all linked to what temperature attracts the mosquitoes and flies, linked to what chemistry helps get it in place. So we're kind of doing a lot more combining this because as it becomes tougher and tougher to communicate with the consumer, how they experience the product and package is going to make an even bigger difference. So I think we are really well placed, and I feel very passionately that if we can have an amazing product and package, that really in today's world can be much more transformational than it was in the past.
It's actually amazing to think about all the sophistication that goes into that innovation. And for us, as consumers, we're just like, wow, it works. Yeah. And that's the magic for us. But when you talk about it with biology and chemistry and physics, it just gives, I think, everybody a flavor of what goes into one of those products. Maybe let's, switch a little to digital. And as you're thinking about the next generation of consumers, how do you think about the role digital plays and, across geographies and where are things consistent versus where do you do things differently?
Yeah, so completely changed. The landscape has completely changed to a digital-first environment, driven by commerce, but driven by where consumers are engaging, the attention spans, where time gets spent. So it's all digital. In many ways, and I think I was mentioning this to you, Shantanu, I feel like if we were a rock band or a pop brand making marketing or advertising before, creativity it was much more central, few people doing it. I think creativity is becoming much more dispersed. So I see a much more dispersed creativity environment. And probably the closest analog I can find is probably we are beginning to become jazz musicians with the required scale of an orchestra. think of it. I mean, you need a loose framework, to your point. We need a loose framework. Old Spice can't be one thing in one group and completely something different in another group. But you want the user-generated content to reflect how they are experiencing the brand. So you do need loose frameworks. And then how do you orchestrate at scale? Which is where a lot of what you have been talking about and sharing yesterday and what you're working on is absolutely critical, because to get from where we are to that jazz with the scale of an orchestra, we can't do without tools like the ones you are providing.
And so maybe, just double-clicking on that further, as you think about brand and you think about scale, because you were also saying backstage how much content you're producing. So how do you actually think about, the automation and what role AI can play? I know you're also, exploring Firefly, but just a little bit of the role of AI specifically in this as you scale and the consistency of the brand.
Yeah, so think of it, and I'm really going to make a very stark contrast, which is not by extending the time frame. So think of it, when I was a brand manager and doing something, I made probably 1 ad or 2 ads a year that ran anywhere for 2 to 3 years. Today, we're probably making hundreds of pieces of content every day, either in a brand voice, either in a consumer voice, or either with an expert voice. Okay? So just to manage that scale of content, you cannot do it physically. You cannot do it humanly. And so AI becomes not a nice to have, it is a necessity. You just cannot be producing that level of content, then doing it for a large company like us with the right safety guardrails. Safety not just from point of view of have you used valid images, contracts. Small companies can get away with that. For large companies, we have to be very disciplined. So doing it at that scale, the amount of content which connects with consumers and does have all the guardrails, there's no way to do it without AI.
That's true. Again, you're pioneering in so many different ways: brands, marketing, innovation, supply chain. I heard a talk that you gave about sort of supply chain, the next generation of supply chain, and how that's going to change, how you get all this. Maybe, just switching gears, talk a little bit about what's top of mind for you.
So let's take supply chain. So if I look at it at a broad level, there was a lot of diagnostics and tools to help with the diagnostics. Then we moved to more predictive. And I would say bulk of today's industry is predictive. But I think what AI is enabling is much better prescriptive solutions. So let's take quality. Typically, if you were doing sampling at some intervals, every day, totally unneeded. Because with sensors and cameras, you can be checking all the products. When you can connect the data together, it doesn't even need a person to review it.
Yep.
So we have a proof of concept where automatically the center lines get adjusted to ensure quality is consistently delivered every day. So quality doesn't even become something that is planned for. It is automatically programmed in. The other big one we are seeing is basically touchless operations or autonomous operations. Many of our lines, we did a pilot about 1.5 years back at one of our plants in Berlin. That's the Gillette plant. And we said, nobody likes the night shift. It really, as we try and build more manufacturing, that's one part of the job where people are like, I'm fine, except. So we said, can we run a part of the night shift without anyone? So we validated first to start with a 4-hour operation with no one. Okay, maybe instead of 500 people, there were 3 people. But literally no one on the lines. We're now rolling that out in multiple operations. And the intent is not to have no one. The intent is to be able to operate autonomously on many of these where the touches are not needed. So a lot of this kind of stuff becoming much more autonomous, having agents do some of this work, like the quality one would be an agent talking to another agent to adjust the center line.
That's true. Well, P&G has also been legendary, I think, for how you've run the company as it relates to brands and allowing the brands, a lot of flexibility in how you run. Specifically, as it relates to AI, maybe. How do you think about AI and how, when you're trying to change an organization as large, you said 100,000, colleagues, how do you think about, what role AI plays? And how do you think about, from a leadership perspective, how you get that across the entire organization?
Yeah. I think, by the way, this is one which, interestingly, the pace at which people embrace it is faster than our capacity to provide it. So I have not found people hesitant to do it. Where I think the area we're putting a lot of emphasis, including in our work with you, is making sure the application layer really is effective for the end user. Yeah. So the more and more we reduce friction, the better and better the tool gets used. So really the usability of the tool is really a function of how we've done at reducing the friction. It's not on whether they've bought into the construct, and they're very quick to embrace it. So some of the speed at which things are being, today in many of the marketing solutions, the issue is not whether they will use the tools. The issue is they want more tools that we are not yet giving. So I find actually this is one which people see how obvious it is. Once you've realized that brand building has changed, yes, you will have a brand with a clear equity. In fact, I think in today's world, even more important to have sharpness of equity for a brand. Even more important to have an amazing brand idea. But after that, it all becomes very loose and dispersed. So in those kind of settings, the minute the marketers have realized that, or say in the plants, they've realized the power of it, people move fast. In fact, I was in China a couple of months back seeing some of their lines which are now running autonomously. All those people who are doing the work running the lines autonomously, they are thrilled. They are now doing much more advanced work building the future. The Berlin plant, by the way, I was talking about, we do a organizational health survey every year around March, and we get about 80% of people sign up to that. Probably one of the highest units on the organizational health scores was the Berlin plant.
Wow. Maybe, you started off, last question, about how you've changed lives. I mean, you think about everybody's life here. It's been touched. And I know you talk a lot about social purpose as well as purpose for an organization. So maybe, a little bit about, as you embark on this, leadership journey, how do you think about purpose for P&G?
Yeah, for us, improving consumers' lives in small but meaningful ways is important. And we put an important statement after that, for generations to come, partially reflecting our heritage, which is 188 years old. And if we had to be true for another 188 years, we have to adapt, which then brings in the construct of sustainability and some of it, because you will need to evolve in those spaces. So we kind of try and make sure that the generations to come factors in our purpose and bringing it to life.
That's great. As you know, I always end with a set of word associations. So if I may, I'll try that. Let me start off. HPS.
Fun.
That's Hyderabad Public School, which is the school that we both went to.
We have great memories. So.
Yes. Cricket.
Passion.
Mindspace.
More important than time.
Brand.
Highest value property.
Marketing.
Exciting.
Sustainability.
Must do.
Leadership.
Care.
Shailesh Jaturikar.
Hopefully creating the future.
Well, please join me in thanking Shailesh for being here and congratulating him on this new thing.
Thank you, Shantanu.
All right. How's everybody doing? It is absolutely great to be back up here. And actually, the topic Rachel teed up for me is around brand visibility. And it's just such a perfect segue from what you just heard from Shailesh and Shantanu, because the importance of brand in this new era is completely changing it. And we define this as brand visibility. My goal over the next 15 minutes, maybe an hour, we'll see how long I take, is to walk you through what do we mean? I mean, you've seen it on all the slides. What do we mean? Adobe, you keep saying brand visibility, brand visibility. What do you actually mean by brand visibility? And better than me just continue to talk about it, I'm going to show you. A lot of showing. You're going to see a lot of product, which I'm really excited about. So let me kind of tee it up. I want to start with a fact. And this fact, every single one in the audience is going to be like, yeah, we kind of know this. But we are fundamentally operating in a completely different world, right? The world of humans and the world of agents. And the reality is, right, if you really, really think about it, the reality is that a lot of us have been implementing and building and thinking about this stuff really more from a human point of view, right? How do I optimize for humans? But it is fundamentally changing, right? And everyone in this room is feeling this. Like if you're B2C, you're feeling it. Your customers are going to a bunch of different places. If you're B2B, you're feeling it. Everybody is feeling this fundamental change. So again, as I said, a lot of you are probably like, yeah, I know this. Tell me something I don't know. 2 things. I'll tell you 2 things that a lot of people don't know. Number 1, a lot of companies are still not even looking at the agentic traffic. A lot of you are still saying, I look at my traffic compared to my total traffic. It's still relatively minor. Guess what? It's not. Right? So everybody needs to be paying attention to what that agentic traffic is. Fact number 2, this is completely different traffic from what we were used to. If you're used to the bots of the past, what did bots do? Right? They kind of came in, they looked at your site, and they notified. Right? That's what a bot did. They said, hey, I'm seeing something, I'm notifying. I'm going to go tell my search engine, I'm notifying you of a change. These agents are completely different. They're actually making decisions in real time. And what we think about today, right, as a lot of these agents coming in from OpenAI, all the platforms that we keep talking about, it's now personal agents, right? These personal agents are going to come to your page, and they're going to say, hey, how do I make a decision? What do I show back to my user? It is completely changing. And again, the reality of this is that still a lot of people are still only solving for the human part. So there's a massive call to action of what we need to go do on the agentic web. So what do we do, right? Where do we take this? I would assert to you there's 3 tectonic shifts happening that are completely interconnected. And to make sense of all this, we're going to go through every single one, and this is what we mean as brand visibility. The first one, brand discovery. You heard it from Anil, you heard it from Shantanu, we're all feeling it. The whole notion of the upper funnel is completely changing. Secondly, beyond just the discovery, agentic automation. Again, how do you now take advantage of these agents and really, really take advantage of all this rich content you're doing? And the third is the conversational experiences themselves. The actual end experiences are changing. So, I promise, I'm going to go through every one of these. I'm going to show you product. What are we building for every single one? And you will see the interconnectivity as how we think about this. So let's start on just brand discovery. I'm just going to say a couple of things. AEO, GEO, there are so many different acronyms. We wake up every single morning, maybe there's another acronym out there, but at the core of it, is how brands need to operate given these new AI channels. And let me tell you kind of some of the questions, right, that I get, and I'm so blessed to work with so many of you out there. Let me give you just a sample of what we hear every single day. Number 1, where am I showing up? I don't know. Like, where am I in these surfaces? Across all these, where am I showing up? Number 2, do I need to update my content on my site? Do I need to update my content off-site? Where? Which content? Do I need to make the content on my homepage more agent-friendly? And which pages? How do I do it? And fundamentally, the last one, how do I make sure my content is actually updating the underlying models so it is being reflected properly? And that is what is happening. That is what is happening. So we are answering these questions, but I want to say one important thing. As you think about this space of discovery, it is not just about analytics. It's not. Yes, that is a critical part. And yes, we need to show you, this is where you're showing up, everything. It is actually about how you take action. It is about how you go optimize. So if you have to go update content, how do you go do it? This is what we've been doing with LLM Optimizer. And I'm so excited to show you how we do this end to end. And for that, like I promised, we're going to show it. Jen, over to you.
Thanks so much, Amit. First off, I'd like to thank Dick's Sporting Goods for allowing us to use their brand in today's demo. All of the data you'll see is fictitious, but the problems we're solving, the workflows, the impact, that's all very real. Brand visibility is being redefined. It's no longer just about what humans see, but what AI can understand and recommend. Today, I'm going to show you how Adobe is reimagining brand visibility and site creation for the agentic web so that your brand shows up, gets understood, and gets chosen. But a little bit about me. I recently decided to get back into golf after seeing a really exciting tournament. But I need some golf clubs to actually help me improve my game. So, like many people, I head over to ChatGPT and tell it exactly what I'm looking for. Let's see what actually comes up. All right, perfect. These are some great recommendations. And these Dick's Sporting Goods products show up because Adobe Commerce and Adobe LLM Optimizer makes sure that they're available at the moment of discovery. Now, these are great recommendations, but I have one problem. I have no idea what size I actually need. Thankfully, Dick's has an LLM app built with Adobe Experience Manager, and I shop there frequently, so I already have it connected. And I can submit to sign up for an in-store measuring experience right here. I simply fill out the form, and my submission is sent directly to Dick's without me ever having to leave ChatGPT. This LLM app allows Dick's to own part of the experience, even though I'm interacting with them in an LLM interface, allowing marketers to leverage existing content in this new emerging channel. Now, this customer experience was really quick and really easy. But how did Dick's ensure that they were part of the conversation to begin with? Adobe makes brand visibility in LLMs simple, actionable, and measurable with Adobe LLM Optimizer. Here, I can see agentic traffic. These are agents coming to your site, viewing your content, and figuring out whether to recommend you or not. Over here, we have human engagement and referral traffic. This is what LLMs are doing to send traffic to your website, where you can go through and monitor that specific type of action. And I'm excited to announce that you can now bring in referral traffic and behavioral data from Customer Journey Analytics and Adobe Analytics so that your teams are making decisions based off of the most up-to-date content available. But insight alone doesn't move the needle. Action does. Thankfully, Adobe provides both on-site and off-site optimizations that are ready for action. This is how your brand prepares for the agentic web, by maintaining content for both humans and agents and constantly iterating based off of engagement and data. Here, I can see opportunities for things like content gaps, web structure issues, and missed engagement opportunities. Right here, I can see that some of my products aren't showing up in prompts for certain golf clubs because these products have not been yet optimized for LLM visibility. Catalog Agent not only provides the specific content I need to the LLMs, like product attributes, pricing, and availability, but also improves my content in my product data by providing suggestions for things like meta titles and product descriptions. This allows me to have better AI readability. And, as if that wasn't easy enough, on-site opportunities come with easy one-click deployment, taking you from insight to optimized in just seconds. Back to you, Emmett.
Thank you so much, Jen. Can we give her a hand? Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jen. Hopefully, that gives you a little better sense of how we're thinking about it. She showed both the analytics, again, and the optimization, which go hand in hand as we think about discovery. And we are seeing incredible traction thanks to so many of you with LLM Optimizer. Over 600 enterprise customers are already using this. And let me give it just a couple examples. WK Kellogg implemented it. 350% increase in AI citations. Lovesac saw a 140% increase as well. I also want to touch quickly on this very exciting announcement you see on stage. We are I'm hearing a lot of clapping. Thank you. We're incredibly excited. You heard Anil talk about it yesterday. Incredibly excited about the proposed acquisition of SEMrush. Together, our companies bring complementary capabilities across traditional search and everything we're talking about here around emerging AI discovery. Please, please stay tuned. We're going to share a lot more soon, but very, very excited about this. OK, I want to go to the next pillar. And this is where we talk about, great, you show me that we have all this discovery, you have all this signal, but now what do I go do with this? How do I go take advantage of all these agents to actually drive this? And I would make another statement here. It is not just about the content. It's about how are you delivering it in real time. Because remember what I said earlier. These agents are coming, and they're accessing you in sub-seconds and making decisions. How do you have that content ready in real time for everybody who's showing up to your site? And I'm super proud of the work we've been doing here. We've actually taken AEM as more of a traditional CMS and truly made it agentic, a true agentic CMS as part of CX Enterprise. And the key here is we gave it not just how to manage the content. Content changes, right? That's the whole point. Content is ephemeral. It's continuing to change. It's all about the context. How do you fundamentally understand the context? Because this is how things are orchestrated. And we're providing new agents as well. in the context orchestration from governance, i.e., hey, I'm writing all this content, how do I actually have the right governance, to experience creation, help me create this, and then also Content Advisor. And what I mean by Content Advisor, we've heard from all of you so many times, I need a better way to find my content. So how do we do that in this new agentic world? This is what enables you to move at the speed required to truly serve everything we're talking about. And here as well, just a massive thank you. Even before you see it, we're already seeing over 27,000 interactions using these agents already. So we're tremendously excited about it. And actually, one quick stat, as you all know, Adobe uses all of our technology, and they're such great partners of ours. They've seen a 27% faster delivery and a 45% reduction in costs using this. So this is real, and it's mandatory for this new AI era. But again, seeing it is way more important. Jen, let's show it.
Wonderful. So now I'd like to show you how Adobe, as a true agentic CMS, can create an entire experience in just a few minutes. Let's start here in Experience Hub. So that major golf tournament just ended, and the system has identified a spike in search and social-related traffic tied to the winning player and their gear. It recommends that we go ahead and capitalize on that before buzz fades. So let's build a landing page together. I can adjust the plan, approve it step by step, or run all the steps and make my edits at the end. Within seconds, experience variants have been agentically created and are ready for my review. So I can go ahead and take a look at these templates. I really like this one, so we can go ahead and apply it. And the agents will assemble the page for me with on-brand content, different images, and applicable products right here. Now, it's great content, but I'm not wild about this headline right here. So let's see if we can come up with something better, something maybe a little bit more inspiring. All right, perfect. I love that one right there at the top, so we'll select the first one and apply it. Now, what if I want to see all the changes that have happened during this session? I can go ahead and ask, and I can see all of the headlines that have been changed, the images that have been swapped, and I can pick and choose which edits I actually want to keep if necessary. Now, instead of publishing one page globally, I actually want to regionalize for 2 specific markets. Let's say the Southeast, which has year-round golf and a warmer weather emphasis, and the Pacific Northwest, which has a much shorter golf season and definitely that rain-resistant gear angle. The system will augment the content for me based off of the different personas I've given it, with different featured products, different tone, different imagery, to provide a better personalized customer experiences for anyone coming to my site. I also want to enable generative content on my page based off of an insight from LLM Optimizer about some prospective AI referral traffic. This will become really important in a second. And now, all I have to do is go ahead and actually submit this for approval and publishing. I've created all of this in just a few minutes, thanks to AI supercharging my time and creativity. But I'm not done yet. Remember a second ago when I said I wanted to enable generative content on my page? Well, what that means is that if one customer comes to my page with a specific context, this might be their experience. Different customer, completely different experience. The layout has changed, images have been swapped, even product descriptions are different. And you might be saying, Jen, Adobe has always been good at real-time personalization. How is this any different? Well, this content wasn't pre-created for a specific region or segment, but it's created automatically by generative AI at the moment of customer interest. True generative websites, all while still adhering to strict Dick's Sporting Goods brand governance. Amit, what do you think about that one?
I ask them. I know what I think. That is fantastic. Thank you, Jen. Okay, I teed up the first 2 pillars. Let's get to the last one. This one is really important. We cannot lose sight that the actual end experiences are actually fundamentally changing as well. The cool thing about explaining this to everybody is that we're all consumers, right? We're all living and we're all sitting in these new tools every day. So we're going to these new conversational interface, right? And we fundamentally are basically voting with our time that this is the new experience that we want. We're not all about anymore just traversing and finding and things. It's like, I want it in my terms, in my language, in my context. Give me the answers right here. And I would put forward the reality is we're all expecting brands now to do this as well. The game is fundamentally changing. And it doesn't just show up on your website. It doesn't show up on your mobile app. It has to be consistent. It has to be across these. In LLMs, we just showed that example early on. But here is the absolute key thing. It is part of the customer journey. It needs to be connected deeply into that customer journey. So let me tell you what we're doing with customers today. Number one, we're helping them evolve their digital properties into these new experiences. Every website should be conversational. Every website should be conversational. Number two, we're actually treating this new surface and enabling personalization because we connect it deeply into the profile and that data fabric that you've invested in. We announced also a new semantic profile that we're building. This takes advantage of that. So now you have all that rich, unstructured data to be able to provide these responses. And number three, again, you're going to hear a consistent theme from me, we optimize. Because we fundamentally can help you understand how is this new channel performing against all these other channels. And these need to be totally synchronized with all of your digital investment. So again, for the final time, let's show it, Jen. Thanks.
Wonderful. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I want to go back and finish buying my golf clubs. My in-store measuring experience was really great, but I'm still kind of undecided on which clubs I actually want to get. It's a really big decision. So let's head over to Dick's Sporting Goods website, where I can interact with Dick's implementation of Adobe Brand Concierge. So I can tell it exactly what I'm looking for. And here, I have the ability to interact with this AI-powered experience layer to make my decision easy. It's connected directly to Adobe Commerce, so I can see real-time products and pricing in context. And I really want to make sure that I'm making my decision with confidence. So as I'm interacting with the Brand Concierge, I can make sure I get all of my questions answered so that by the time I actually have a decision, I can either add it to cart or check out right here. And it's not just about product discovery. I can view multimodal content like videos, so I can get a better golf swing with Dick's Pro Tips. Brand Concierge isn't some chatbot. It's an AI-powered capability that enables personalized, conversational customer experiences that helps your customers go from discovery to decision in real time. It's connected to your customer's semantic data profile, so you can have personalization based off of things like their preferences and previous purchase history. And there's even B2B-specific functionality, like scheduling a meeting with a sales rep if necessary. Adobe has been leading the CMS market for years, but now we are defining the era of the true agentic CMS. No one else brings this together in a single system, and that is how Adobe helps your brand win in the agentic web. And I hope to see all of you on the golf course. Thanks so much.
Well done, Jen. Thank you, Jen. The sad part is for anybody who's played golf with me, I need way more than new clubs, but that's a different part of this. Anyway, those are the three pillars. I hope it shows you the interconnectivity of what we mean by brand visibility. It is truly the interconnectivity and the full scope of doing this all together. For a lot more detail on this, please attend the strategy keynote. Lonnie and her team will be spending a lot of time unpacking every single one of these even more. So again, thank you so much for your partnership. Thank you for your time today. It means the world, and just want to say thank you again. I would now have the pleasure of introducing Anjal Bambri, SVP of Engineering. Anjal will be sharing how we're re-architecting our products in this agentic era so you can engage with your customers across every single touch point. Over to you, Anjal.
Thanks, Amit. So like Amit was saying, software is at an inflection point, and a shift is happening not just in MarTech, but across the board. And I want to lay out our vision around this transformation. So for years, humans have operated software. In the new model, AI operates software. So what do humans do? We define goals. We direct strategy. And this is an architectural shift. And the platforms that succeed will be the ones that are AI operated. The products of tomorrow will be ones that open themselves to AI. Open themselves in terms of your data, your models, your services, really your entire know-how. In other words, the question is really changing from where can we use AI to how can AI use what we got. This is really the crux of going from generative to agentic. And Adobe's role is to provide you the most complete, open, and trusted platform that AI can build on. Something that doesn't lock you in one single worldview. Instead, it's a composable AI fabric. Think of it as an infrastructure that is open, flexible, and autonomous. And I'm going to dive into each of these pillars. Today, most products are siloed. They're monolithic, and functionality is locked inside user interfaces. If you can't click to it, most probably you can't get to it. Tomorrow, capabilities become fine-grained and directly accessible, so you get to use what you truly need. And more importantly, with protocols such as Model Context Protocol or MCP, AI is able to discover these capabilities, and that openness leads to flexibility. Your LLMs really turn into universal connectors. They stitch capabilities, they orchestrate actions, and they do so in ways that no one pre-designed. For example, if you want to query your journey performance data, you can do it in Adobe's Application Journey Optimizer, but you can do it in other surfaces also, like Microsoft Copilot. Or building a cross-channel campaign could be done through a multi-turn conversation. Of course, you're also able to choose your favorite frontier models that run the AI, be it Claude, be it GPT, be it Gemini, and you pick your favorite agentic framework too. OpenAI Frontier, Claude Managed Agent, NVIDIA's NemoClaw. So this is true composability. We provide the building blocks that AI can assemble on the fly and go away from those pre-wired integrations to a fabric that flexes to whatever your business needs next. So let's now look at the last dimension, moving from manual to autonomous. Today, humans click buttons, AI advises. Tomorrow, AI operates at machine speed, and humans govern. So let's take an example. Say there's a competitor that undercuts you on price at 2 p.m. Today, someone notices this, and then all the madness unfolds. Someone alerts the team, schedules meetings, debates responses, briefs get created, builds a campaign, gets approval, launches. Days pass, and opportunities are often lost. Tomorrow, your agent detects the price cut. Your agent identifies at-risk customers, drafts a retention offer, simulates outcomes, requests your approval, you tap go, and maybe everything done in 30 minutes. So let's see how this vision is manifesting in our new offering. I'm excited to introduce Customer Experience Enterprise Coworker. This is your collaborative teammate. So CX Coworker, it provides a seamless integration between Adobe and your enterprise stack, between your enterprise and the outside world. It truly blurs product boundaries. Within Adobe products, it invokes audiences, journeys, analytics via MCP servers and tools. It does not care which product these capabilities belong to. The product boundaries really become invisible. And then within your enterprise stack, it accesses signals and agents across your CRM systems, ERP, databases, etc. So Adobe becomes one set of capabilities among many. And it does not stop at the firewall. It can pull signals from social, news, market data, feeds it to Adobe-powered personalization in real time. CX Coworker orchestrates both Adobe's agents as well as your agents with a level of autonomy that you control. It's semi-autonomous when you want guardrails, and it's fully autonomous when you're ready to just let it run. It's also very flexible in how you reach it. You can access it from our coworker user experience. You can call it from your purpose-built applications or from your AI platform of choice, be it, again, OpenAI Frontier, Cloud-Managed Agent, NVIDIA's NemoClaw. In fact, we envision AI-generated front ends which are tailored to your specific use cases. So with that, I'm going to call on Rachel Hannessian, our Senior Manager of Product, to show you the CX Enterprise Coworker in action. Let's go.
Thanks so much, Anjal. And thanks to Ulta for letting us use their brand to showcase what our team at Adobe has been working on. For this demo, I'll be playing the role of a marketer at Ulta Beauty, and I'm going to show how my small team, so just a couple of people, can work together with agents to drive a global campaign in just minutes using external social trends. Meet my CX Enterprise Coworker. More than a tool or a dashboard, it's kind of like my quarterback that's beside me 24/7. And it gathers its intelligence from three main sources. First, Adobe's applications. So the audiences you've built in real-time CDP, the journeys designed in Adobe Journey Optimizer, and the insights captured in Customer Journey Analytics. Second, from Ulta's own sources, so inventory, data, and operations. And last, the external world, so social signals, trend data, and what's happening right now. Boundaries are blurred across these sources as the coworker moves fluidly across them, because Adobe can connect to any AI technology to help you deliver exceptional customer experiences. Now, Ulta has access to a variety of agents. If you think of the coworker as the quarterback, think of agents as players on the field. Some of these agents are created by Adobe, and some are created by Ulta. At Ulta, we created a custom social media agent, and it's actually pretty cool, and you are going to get to see it. It's constantly scanning for viral trends that the coworker can capitalize on using audiences in journeys and CX Enterprise. On the right-hand side of the screen here, you can see all of the agentic workflows that this agent is a part of. You can think of workflows as defined business processes that take Adobe's agents, along with Ulta's agents, data, systems, models, and know-how, and put it into a consolidated game plan. In this particular social media pairing workflow, it starts with a social trigger, then it leverages some of Adobe's tools. There's an intelligent decisioning step that determines what journey, offer, and content to deploy, and then a custom governance agent that Ulta built in that does compliance checks and seeks appropriate approvals. I'm actually noticing that the US is set to be the only approver of the output of this workflow, and that's not quite right. So let's update the approval chain to include the UK and APAC. Automation is only going to happen within the bounds that Ulta sets. OK, all set. Well, once my workday ends, I head home for the evening. And later that night, while I'm fast asleep, a beauty influencer posts and recommends using two of our Ulta products together. And she goes viral. Take a look.
I started using these two Ulta products together, and my skin has never looked better. The combo is everything. You have to get both.
Within hours, this video has 4 million views. And even though I'm fast asleep, the coworker never sleeps and gets signal from the social media agent and rallies the rest of our agents into action. In seconds, it reaches into real-time customer data platform and gathers intelligence about who has purchased or expressed interest in these products. It clusters existing audiences and suppresses conflicting ones. It then leverages Firefly Creative Production Agent and Journey Optimizer to determine what message to give, what content, and what offer based on what has worked well in the past. Once the plan is outlined, it then simulates projected outcomes and confirms that governance conditions are met before seeking approval. Because it is the middle of the night in the US, the coworker knows to reach out to the UK marketing group that's currently at their desks. They're able to review the plan and quickly approve it. 2 campaigns were just launched across email, push, and paid social in just minutes. What you just saw is the move from manual to autonomous in CX Enterprise. It's pretty awesome, right? Yeah, you can clap for that. When Sleepyhead over here wakes up, what could have been a massive missed opportunity is instead a glowing success report. I can scroll back through all of the decisions that the coworker made in collaboration with the UK marketing group and see everything that happened. This is what it looks like for humans to govern and AI to operate. Let's see how these campaigns are doing. I can see it's pulling from Ulta's inventory data, Adobe's performance data, and external signals. It gathers all of this intelligence together with a third-party visualization to create this performance map. It's really AI working on top of everything that you've given it access to, because it's just one composable system. It looks like this campaign is trending pretty well, but the coasts do seem to be a bit ahead of the Midwest. Let's see if we can spotlight this area and prod the coworker to give a bit more information there. OK, so it looks like there's somewhat of a regional trend lag, and the peak virality hasn't quite hit yet. So the coworker's suggesting that we adjust some of the remaining engagement in the Midwest. Let's proceed with that. Oh, cool. Also, it looks like the coworker is suggesting that it takes what it just learned about regional trend lag detection and turn it into institutional knowledge that Ulta can actually benefit from on an ongoing basis. So yeah, let's take regional trend lag detection and create it as a skill that my workflow can benefit from moving forward. OK, well, whew, that was a kind of long day. And I know you only saw a few seconds of it, but work with me. Later, on my commute home, I pull out Claude on my phone. Relax. I'm not Clauding and driving. I'm on the train. When I pull out Claude on my phone, Adobe's CX Enterprise coworker is already fully connected. Give me a recap of the day with next steps. Claude is able to pull my meeting summaries and emails, and Adobe's coworker brings the rest. Updates on my viral campaign, including performance data pulled from customer journey analytics. I have an update on my inventory pulled from my inventory systems, and even recommended next steps to expand my campaign to 2 additional audiences in real-time customer data platform. Let's start discovery on campaign expansion. OK, well, it looks like the coworker has this down, and I can just go home and enjoy my evening. I'll look forward to seeing the progress that's made in the morning. So let's take a step back and look at what just happened. In the old world, responding to a viral moment like that could have taken days. And honestly, by the time we acted, we might have missed the moment. But in this new world, the CX Enterprise coworker was able to quickly identify the opportunity and then decide to pull in the right agents and people, and was able to take action before my alarm even went off. And then at the end of the day, it was able to meet me exactly where I was. Can you believe that the coworker was even able to put some Ulta samples underneath your seats? No, really, take a look. All right, I'm just kidding. But maybe next year at the pace of innovation that we're moving. Back to you, Angel.
Thank you, Rachel. So are you ready to have a coworker join your team? Woo. So now, what happens to applications you know and love? Journey Optimizer, Real-Time CDP, Journey Analytics, Marketo, Target, Campaign, and others. we continue to add many new innovations to these applications that will further enhance the impact of these applications in conjunction with Coworker. So think of every product has two layers, the intelligence layer and the user experience layer. We are unlocking the intelligence. It becomes a service. It's accessible via APIs, and it's operable by AI agents. The UI also keeps evolving. It's enhanced, especially with AI Assistant, for those who want native experience. Your implementation investment carries forward in CX Coworker. Your campaign briefs and business goals become business context. Audience journeys and insights show up as skills. Permissions and decisioning logic becomes part of agentic governance. And all your business workflows, they transform into agentic workflows with shared memory. So we are really preserving the intelligence and liberating the interface. You get more access, and your investment is enhanced. 7 years ago, we launched Adobe Experience Platform. It is now the backbone of enterprises across all industry verticals, operating today at unprecedented scale. On a daily basis, managing 330 terabytes of experience data, activating 70 billion customer profiles, delivering 1 trillion experiences every year on the edges across the world. All this intelligence in the platform that we have captured through our applications is preserved and is now AI operated. Your implementation investment carries forward in your favorite applications, blurring the boundaries, enhanced intelligence, and giving you more access. 20 years ago, Adobe helped define digital marketing. 10 years ago, Adobe helped define customer experience management. And we did not get here alone. Many of you in this room helped shape every step of that transformation. Today, Adobe is defining the customer experience fabric that AI builds on. And CX Enterprise Coworker is where this comes alive. This is a fabric that is open, flexible, and autonomous, where boundaries blur, capabilities flow, AI operates, and humans govern. We are excited about this future, and we'll be truly honored to build this with you. Thank you so much.
Dick's Sporting Goods was founded in 1948 as a very small bait and tackle shop. And when you fast forward now, we are one of the largest sporting goods retailers across the globe. When people come into our ecosystem, they have a dream. Whatever that dream is, we are here to help and support athletes.
When we say athlete, it really is all types of consumers, regardless of how they view themselves in the sport.
The customers are expecting you to know them, to guide them, not just find something, but also shop with them.
How do we leverage our data and insights to understand everything that we can about our athlete and then connect that to that powerful creative that we know is ultimately going to create a connection?
We want to make the experience for athletes better so that they can achieve their dreams. To the extent we can actually do that through AI and partnership with Adobe, that's going to be the game changer for us.
So, this is Concierge. Concierge knows Jamie's previous experience.
Brand Concierge will be Dick's first natural language chatbot experience using agentic surfaces. You'll be able to ask it questions, look for advice, ask for recommendations on products. Ultimately, it'll be an experience that is tailored to you and the inputs that you're giving it and what we know about you as an athlete.
We are uniquely positioned to provide a very differentiated experience that really connects personally with the athlete, as well as what we actually know about them holistically.
So the better we can use the data and the technology to reduce friction in the athlete experience, that's how we're going to come out on top.
This company has continued to grow and evolve. We are relentlessly improving and changing. We believe very strongly that sports change lives. With Adobe, we felt such a connection in terms of our joint desire to change the world together. It was just a fantastic fit, and we couldn't be more excited.
All right. Vlad, Emily, thank you for coming to Adobe Summit with us. I am excited about this conversation. I think a lot of marketers in here will be as well, because it'll be a great conversation between marketing and tech. I think that's always good. I love that video, and I love the fact that you call your customers athletes. All right, so let's get into it. Many people still think of Dick's, and this first one's going to be for you, Emily. Many people still think of Dick's primarily as a retailer, but internally you frame that company very differently. So how would you describe really what you're building today and why that distinction?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's great to be here with you. And thank you and Adobe for having both of us. We're excited for this conversation. So at Dick's, as you heard from Lauren, we start with the fundamental belief that sports change lives. It certainly did for Vlad and for me and for many of those that work at the company. And that belief really shapes how we think about our role, not simply as a place to buy equipment, but as a partner in an athlete's journey. So everything we do is anchored in helping athletes get started, improve, compete, and stay connected to a sport throughout their lives. We genuinely think of ourselves as a sports company that provides a powerful, knowledge-based opinion for all athletes.
And if we take a step further, going back to golf, because we saw a lot of golf today, you probably know us as somebody who's got a large assortment of products, from clubs to balls to glove to shoes to apparel and everything else. And you probably know us also as somebody who can fit you into any one of those products. Now, the moment we move that into a coaching conversation and we make you better on the course, all of a sudden we're transitioning from retail to sports, and the game changes quite a bit for us. So the products, the platforms we build significantly widen, and that offers a huge differentiation for us.
Let's talk a little bit about that. So Emily, if you think of your customers as athletes, you talk about serving them an athlete journey rather than just a shopping journey. So then what do you think changes strategically, practically, when you think about your customer as an athlete and you building that athlete journey?
Yeah, I think it changes the conversation and the work quite a bit. When you see someone as an athlete, the relationship becomes longer term, it becomes more personal. You're no longer just asking what they want to buy today. You're thinking about where they are in a sport, or what are they trying a new sport, and what are they trying to achieve, how you can support their progress. So that mindset internally shows up in how we design our stores. It shows up in how we design our services, any content, and also our community engagement. And for athletes, when you think about it, and I would imagine we're all athletes in this room in some way, there are an incredible number of journeys. It's almost mind-blowing to think how many there are. It's from game to practice and home to store, young to old, recreational to competitive. There's so many. And then as we as a business have to layer on how we think about our athletes and our teammates, people that work at the company we call teammates, online and in stores, shopping and sports performance, and all of these vectors come together to make up this multitude of journeys.
So, Vlad, today it's been a lot of conversations, as well as yesterday, around agents, around AIs. Like, everyone is talking about this. And I know that you've said simply building agentic shopping isn't enough. So how do you think about it from your perspective? How do you think about the innovation that's actually advancing that athlete experience?
Yeah, it's actually a really, really good question, and I think most companies are wrestling with the same thing of how do you take something that could be transactional into experiential. And I think for us, if I go back to our golf example, and we can build an agent to sell you clubs. We can actually build the agent that can fit you into the right clubs, especially if you show up in one of our stores or Golf Galaxies. The moment we go into agents for coaching you and telling you what is the next best thing for you to do to get better, we have to step back and think about, is it the product? Is it the next drill? and then the comprehensive assessments that we would do to gather data for that, all the way from ground data to body to club to bowl and everything else, and putting our deep knowledge in sport, product, and athletes is when we step back and orchestrate across all of that. So for us, it's that orchestration and intelligence that sits on top of it and puts you into the right frame at the moment across the journey that Emily is talking about.
I will say that it's working very well with the high school demographic. My son is in 11th grade, and he's a huge Dick's Sporting Goods. When I told him I was doing this, he's like, really? He's very excited. So I think you guys are really engaging that demographic, so nice job. Segueing from that and engagement, you do experiences like House of Sports. How does that change your relationship with athletes? How does the technology amplify but not replace that physical experience?
Yeah, it's a really interesting dichotomy. So House of Sport, and for those of you who haven't been, I strongly encourage you to go, is an incredible concept. And I think it shows how seriously we at Dick's take the role of experience in sport. These stores are really destinations. They're places where athletes can train, play, connect with the community. And they allow us, as I mentioned earlier, to really show up as a sports company and not just a retailer. And so at these stores, we have all sorts of experiences. We host birthday parties, we host camps. Many of the House of Sports have a field. And so we do our programming for the local community. And then we layer on technology that allows us to extend and personalize all of these experiences. So whether it's capturing performance data or connecting services or carrying insights from the store to our digital channels, the goal is continuity wherever you interact with Dick's Sporting Goods, making the experience cohesive and making sure that we're always engaging with the athlete in a consistent way.
Yeah, it was fun to see in the video all the different team members who were thinking about that experience and thinking about how they bring it to life. I do think it's been really interesting over the last 18 months, 2 years. I think there's been a definite shift in marketers and tech teams, I think CMOs, CTOs, working together as they think about what's the customer journey we're building, where does agentic play in, where does AI play in, how are we working with partners, vendors. And I think one of the reasons why I was excited to do this is I think you guys are a good example of what that can look like. And so how do you work together day to day to bring these experiences to life? Especially when you think across the customer experience and that journey, but also how do you personalize it? What's the data you need? What's the AI capabilities you need? And how do you scale?
Well, it starts with exceptional trust that we have.
Right back at you.
We do, and it is special. And we do have, as a sports company and a one-team mindset, that we bleed that in so many ways. Our competition is, as our chairman would say, out there, not here in that place. But it's so much more than just two of us. We've actually implemented the operating model that is way beyond the traditional product model. And that allows us to have business and technology work very differently, and not just with Emily's team, but other teams. And so as you look at what our ELT is doing from a vision setting to our leaders, from a strategy setting to the execution, it is a very different model than just going to traditional product-by-product approaches. And that pushes us to think about these experiences end-to-end. And so we've put this model also through activation squads, where we put actually dedicated business and technology teams that go against these experiences and help us think about AI in a very, very, very different way, and push back all the way to Emily and myself to say, what if and what about and everything else that comes in it. And I'll be remiss if I didn't say we care a lot about teammates and talent and certain type of talent, and that's part of our secret sauce as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. It does start with trust. I'm lucky to have an incredible partner and leader in Vlad. I've been in marketing for over 20 years, which is wild. And I think it's the most important relationship right now for a marketer to have, is a trusted CTO partner. Because we start from a place of shared purpose and shared outcomes, but marketing and technology aren't separate lanes anymore. And it has to be one and the same, and we're partners in delivering the athlete experience. There's no traditional lines, org charts anymore, in my opinion. And that alignment is what allows us to move faster and stay focused on what actually matters, in our case, to athletes, and I would suggest in everyone else's case, to their customers as well.
Last question, I'll go to you, Emily. When you think about staying relevant in an experience-driven, AI-enabled world, what is sort of the mind shift? Like, how do you think about that now, and how do you help your teams think about that?
I think, and even listening backstage, one thing is just making sure you're continuously having a learning mindset, which may sound cliche, but the world is changing so fast around this topic that you have to continuously learn and experience new ways in. I'd say from a more macro perspective, building relationships are no longer about just engaging with customers. It's also how you build a relationship with agents, which is something I'm still wrapping my head around. But how you build those dual relationships is going to be incredibly important for the future.
Yeah. And I think you guys have done, like I said, such a great job. The video was amazing. I mentioned this morning, we have you guys in our community pavilion, yes. Customize and choose. We also have golf swing coaching, which has been very popular. Both have been very popular, I will say. So we want to thank you for your partnership. We want to thank you for the work that we've been able to do with you guys. This has been really great. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm Arun Palmer. I'm the Senior Vice President and General Manager for Adobe Gen Studio. And over 20,000 enterprise customers are leveraging Adobe for creativity, marketing, and AI. And many of them have standardized on Adobe Gen Studio as their content supply chain solution. And they're seeing real, tangible results. Take, for example, IBM, that's accelerating performance marketing with 64% faster time to activation. Or Virgin, who has deployed self-serve branded templates for 40% higher content throughput. As well as Ford, that has built its corporate newsroom across regions, as well as platforms to scale quality storytelling with 5x higher visitor engagement. And all of these customers are looking at the end-to-end supply chain and optimizing it. So thinking across creation and production, workflow and planning, delivery and activation, reporting and insights, with asset management sitting in the middle. Now let's talk about some of the trends that are influencing content. Yesterday, Anil, as part of his keynote, highlighted some of these trends. When you think about brand visibility, that's top of mind for every single enterprise. And you need to feed specific content that drives the outcomes for your brands inside of these LLMs. The next thing is that the bar for personalized content is going up. Each and every customer is asking for hyper-personalized content to be delivered for them, not just any generic content that we are creating for broad customer segments. And finally, many brands are serving over 50 channels, and all of these channels require massive amount of fresh content that's personalized. Now, if that wasn't enough, the half-life of content in these channels is dramatically going down. Take, for instance, TikTok. There are 34 million videos that get uploaded every single day in TikTok, and 50% of engagement on each of these videos happens in the first 10 seconds. Let's pause for a second and reflect on that. 50% of all the views and all the likes happen in the first 10 seconds of the video getting uploaded to this platform. And all of these platforms matter because they've become the places where cultural moments are created, discovered, and amplified at global scale in real time. And this brings us to the challenge that virtually every single person in this room is experiencing, which is the old operating model can't keep up with the content velocity and content volume that is demanded of our brands and of our enterprises. So what are marketing leaders doing? Well, they've figured out that throwing more headcount is not the solution. They're looking at AI solutions that can efficiently scale this massive content demand and keep up with these trends that we are talking about. The way to solve this is the agentic content supply chain. And our vision is human-led and agent-accelerated. Across every step of the content supply chain, we have humans and agents collaborating with each other, moving away from manual execution to a more AI-powered scaling of content. And we are reimagining the Gen Studio for this human-led and agent-accelerated content supply chain. There are 5 core components that are required in the agentic content supply chain. We're going to now talk through what we are doing in Adobe Gen Studio to make it more agentic. So the first one is around enterprise context. So in order to make agents more reliable and trustworthy, you need to expose the exact same context that your marketing practitioners have over to the agents. That's how they become more meaningful and help your marketing practitioners be more productive. So what Adobe is doing uniquely with Adobe Gen Studio is unlocking the exact same enterprise context that your marketing professionals have across Workfront, AEM Assets, and Frame, and many more, and making it available to these agents, grounding them in your business reality. Your campaign strategy, your brand, your performance data, your design system, not just any generic prompt. This shared context accelerates workflows and it breaks down silos across your entire organization. And this is how your investment in the Adobe stack helps you leapfrog over to the agentic content supply chain. And what makes this even more powerful is that when we are building this enterprise context, we're looking at the creative tooling as well as the customer experience tooling to create a unified context layer that can be leveraged across your agentic content supply chain. Now, enterprise context is necessary, but not sufficient. Raw context must be structured, connected, and made actionable for it to be useful by agents. And brand intelligence is the transformation layer that makes this context accessible to agents, turning fragmented data into intelligence. It connects campaign briefs, brand guidelines, content, performance data, and compliance data into a unified, interoperable model. It enables not just these agents to retrieve information, but to actually make informed, context-aware recommendations. Now, virtually all AI brand systems out there are trained on what we refer to as the codified layer. You know, your brand briefs, your brand kits, your brand templates. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. The real advantage comes when you actually sit on top of the uncodified majority. The institutional knowledge, the human judgment, and the decision patterns that are happening inside your organization. That's what actually drives business outcomes in the enterprise. And to be successful, your agents need both, not just the codified rules, but also the uncodified context that's behind these decisions that are being made. That's exactly what we are doing with Adobe Brand Intelligence, turning both codified and uncodified context into intelligence that agents can leverage. So Adobe Brand Intelligence is industry's first AI system that brings together these codified rules and uncodified enterprise contexts across how your content, campaign, and performance is happening into actionable intelligence. And the great thing is, it's available today. So let's talk a little bit about what's inside of the Adobe Brand Intelligence. It starts with brand ontology, which is structuring your brand elements into a semantic model that AI can understand. Then we combine it with specialized computer vision models that can detect, map, and understand the various brand elements in your assets. And on top of that sits an advanced reasoning engine that can actually bring together and figure out how decisions are being made around brand and content in your enterprise. And this powers the truly intelligent and on-brand and scalable content supply chain. Now, brand intelligence comes to life through 3 skills. The first one is instruct to assemble, where essentially brand intelligence can create asset variants at scale using Firefly Creative Production. The next one is the validate skill that can ensure every asset is on brand and compliant with your guidelines and ready for activation. And then the third one is around predict performance, where essentially this skill understands how content will perform for specific customer segments before it actually goes live. And together, all of these 3 skills move you confidently to activating content at scale. So next up is AI workflows. This is how you scale AI across your entire organization, not just driving productivity or tasks for your individual practitioners. This is where humans and agents collaborate, where humans set the intent, and agents can execute with precision. So Firefly Creative Production for Enterprise unifies both creative AI, think background removal, resizing images, reframing videos, along with generative AI, which is text to image, text to video across Firefly models, as well as third-party models, into a unified workflow that allows you to create content at scale. So there are 3 pre-configured sort of use cases that we have, or categories of use cases across ad variants, commerce, and localization that you can leverage as part of Firefly Creative Production. But what if production worked like a conversation? With Firefly Creative Production Agent, we're doing just that. You upload a creative brief, or you describe the details of your campaign, and Firefly Creative Production Agent will understand your context and automatically create or pull up a workflow that already exists and start to create content at scale. As David mentioned yesterday, Firefly Creative Production Agent is also accessible as part of the Creative Agent. Now, there are some of you out here in attendance today that are in industries like automotive or manufacturing or consumer packaged goods and luxury goods and stuff, where physical product identity is extremely important. It's not optional, but it is important to your brand. Gen AI alone falls short. Hallucinations are showstoppers. And without precision and fidelity, brands can't trust the output and limiting the value that they can extract from AI. That changes today. With Adobe's 3D digital twin solution available as part of Firefly Creative Production, it enables you to create pixel-perfect product representation with full identity preservation while leveraging generative AI to create background and foreground elements and seamlessly composite that into final assets. You start with a 3D digital twin of your product. Next, you create a hero experience, and then you use Firefly Creative Production to scale it into infinite versions. Now, at GTC, as well as yesterday in Shantanu and Jensen's fireside chat, they talked about this solution, and we're really excited about the partnership that we have with NVIDIA, which is the joint solution that we've built that essentially leverages the best of NVIDIA in terms of omniverse, ray tracing, and actually it does not require any specialized hardware for you. In fact, it can take the digital twin and then automatically start to scale it across both image and video variants. So this brings us to agentic orchestration, where a broad set of specialized agents operate across the entire content supply chain. Now, we have purpose-built agents, each focused on specific task and workflow. And all of these agents are working with humans, in terms of accelerating the overall supply chain. And as Anjul called out, the CX Enterprise Coworker is enabling autonomous marketing actions. And to power those marketing actions, the CX Enterprise Coworker is calling upon the agents that are available in Gen Studio for both creation as well as for production. And finally, we have the conversational experience, where you just have to describe your intent or drop in a campaign or a creative brief. And Gen Studio understands and orchestrates the right agents as well as the right AI workflows to start to work on your specific requests. So to see it live, I'd like to invite Emily Palmer to actually do a demo of Adobe Gen Studio.
Thanks, Varun. And thanks to ServiceNow for allowing us to showcase your brand. All data and assets have been fictionalized to protect the brand's privacy. ServiceNow is running a campaign, Put AI to Work for People, with humans at the center. Let's pull up the campaign brief. And we can do that using this conversational experience in Adobe Gen Studio. The brief lives in Workfront, but I can access information from any of my Gen Studio apps from this one single place. That means that I can do the jobs I need to do, and it's such a huge time saver. Scrolling through this brief, we see all the key details, like the target audiences, which for ServiceNow are buying groups of decision makers. Creating all the different asset variations to precisely target these buyers is a lot of work. But with Adobe Gen Studio, we can make it happen. Let's take a look at the project plan. We have a last-minute request to add a new activation channel, ChatGPT ads. We all love those last-minute requests, right? We need to add a task to create that content, and the agent can help us with this. Now that we have that task added, we're ready to generate our creative brief, and the agent can help us with that too. Because we have the right enterprise context, we have the campaign strategy brief and that detailed project plan, AI can help us bring all of those details together in a creative brief. And there we go. Our creative brief is ready to go, and we're off and running.
Great, Emily. So having a single pane of glass is really amazing for marketers because they don't have to switch across applications. But let's say I'm a creative technologist, and I really love the Firefly Creative Production experience. Can you show us what this new agentic experience in Firefly Creative Production looks like?
Absolutely. Let's create some assets. For this scenario, I'm going to play the role of a creative. And as a creative, I work here in Firefly Creative Production for Enterprise, where I again have a conversational experience. First, I'm going to select the brief from Workfront, and then we'll ask the agent to write us a plan. I'm going to show you how I'll use the Creative Production agent to help create all these asset variations. Based on the details in the creative brief, the agent is going to list out all of the asset variations we need, and then write a plan, which includes finding the right images, sourcing the right workflows, and finally assembling all the assets. I like this plan, so let's approve and start. And the first step is finding the right images. I don't want to use this group shot, so we'll deselect that one and say use these assets. Next is identifying the right workflows, which the agent has done for me. One for paid media, another for banner ads. Let's preview this workflow for paid media so you can see how the magic happens. Now, I know this looks complicated, so let me break it down for you. Each of these nodes is a workflow step that allows for assembly of asset variations. And I have all of these different actions to help me build out all the different workflows I need. Includes things for video and generative actions and 3D and more. These are repeatable, shareable workflows, and that's how we get scale. Do you guys want to see this in action? Yeah? I'm going to assume that you do. So let's go ahead and run these workflows. The Adobe Brand Intelligence Instruct to Assemble skill is applying brand guidelines, ensuring that everything's in line for the channel, format, and campaign requirements. It's handling cropping and formatting and visual harmonization, so everything looks polished. And I have confidence thanks to the Adobe Brand Intelligence Validate skill. As assets are created, they're validated, fixes are applied, so everything's on brand. Adobe Brand Intelligence is instructing Firefly Creative Production for assembly, and it's outputting editable layered files for precision and control. This is reducing so much manual, repetitive work and saving days of time. Now, we love on-brand content, but what's even better is content that our audience loves. So let's ask the agent, Which creative will resonate most with the IT buying group? The Adobe Brand Intelligence Predict Engagement skill uses synthetic audiences grounded in a deep understanding of your customer segments to predict how they'll respond before you ever hit publish. Now, what you're seeing here is a real-time simulation of how the audience is reacting to the creatives we're testing. We're getting feedback in minutes instead of months. And it doesn't just tell us which creative wins, it tells us why. We can predict how assets will resonate before we send them out. So, what do you guys think about Adobe Brand Intelligence? Come on, give us some applause. We don't want to have to ask the synthetic audience for applause.
That's really amazing, Emily. So Adobe Brand Intelligence has 3 skills. The first one is Instruct to Assemble. That works in conjunction with Firefly Creative Production to create on-brand assets at scale. Then you have the Validate skill that ensures that both on-brand as well as compliance is respected in the output that's generated. And then you have the Predict Performance that looks at the creative and then makes sure that against the audience you want to activate against, it gives you some insights into why certain things would perform and how. Great. Can we now shift gears and talk about how Adobe Gen Studio streamlines delivery and activation?
Absolutely. I'm going to put my marketer hat back on now because we're ready to activate. So we're back here in Adobe Gen Studio, picking up where we left off. And now we have all of this great content that's ready to go. One of the things that makes the agentic content supply chain so special is support for the ecosystem. Partners across agencies and system integrators can bring their own tools and agents for use here in the content supply chain. So that means we really can do all the jobs we need to do from this one single place. And what we need to do right now is activate these ads. So let's ask the agent to help us do that. Let's activate the ads across our paid media channels. And in response, we're going to get this activation table, which I'll expand out. What we see here is all of our different ads for this specific campaign that are in the ready to activate status. And we can confirm it's what we want. When we're ready, say looks good, go ahead. These ads will all be pushed out to the various ad platforms. And there you've seen how the agentic content supply chain comes together in Adobe Gen Studio.
Thank you, Emily. So as a product builder, this is an incredibly exciting time to build with AI. It gives us the opportunity to deliver even more value faster than ever before to all of you. And what we showed you today is not just vision. Adobe Brand Intelligence Service is available today. Firefly Creative Production for Enterprise is available today. 3D Digital Twin Solution is available today. And many of the agents that we talked about in Gen Studio are also available today. So we want you to build on what you already have and get started with your agentic content supply chain journey. Thank you, and back to you, Rachel.
All right. Thank you, Varun. As a marketer, I am thrilled about what I just saw, and I'm thrilled with the innovation that we've been talking to for the last 2 days. We all know that marketing teams are under pressure to produce more content, refresh it faster, maintain brand consistency across formats, markets, and platforms. And I think this work that you just saw is really game-changing. Okay, I want to thank all of our presenters today. We showcased some great innovations during our brand visibility, customer engagement, and our content supply chain segments this morning. It was great to talk to Dick's Sporting Goods. Hopefully you all enjoyed that. And then I want to make sure that everyone knows you can dive deeper on everything you just saw in the strategy sessions today. Those are happening from 11:30 to 4, so absolutely make sure you don't miss that. And then the last thing I want to tell you about really quickly is we are introducing an AI Maturity Index. This is a program designed for CMOs and marketers. A lot of marketers have been asking us as we talk about them, how do I think about where I am in a maturity curve? So we worked with a lot of CMOs, a lot of companies to set up a benchmark. We've designed a diagnostic tool to help walk CMOs through this and kind of give them feedback on where they are, where they need to go, and what they need to do. That is available not only via the QR code, but it's the campground. And then for everyone watching online, it's available at the URL that you're seeing online. Okay. I hope everybody enjoyed today, and I hope everybody enjoys the rest of Summit. Go out there, attend sessions, have an amazing time, folks. Thank you.